I woke on my back, spine pressed into a surface that mimicked grass, pliant yet unyielding, like memory foam carved into blades. Above me stretched a sky that defied language. Clouds hung frozen, their edges unnaturally crisp, as if cut from bleached felt and glued to an abyss. The void behind them was not mere darkness but erasure, a vacuum that gnawed at the edges of perception, like staring into the static between radio stations. Only the clouds tethered me to reality, their faint bioluminescent glow suggesting some alien photosynthesis, pulsing in slow arrhythmic waves. The field stretched infinitely in all directions, a fractal nightmare of uniformity. Each blade of grass was identical, chartreuse at the base, fading to citrine at the tip, precisely 3 millimeters wide. No soil nestled between them, they sprouted from a seamless mat of dull silver, like astroturf woven by machines. When I pressed my palm down, the stems didn't bend. They resisted like plastic bristles yet emitted a faint organic musk, sweet and cloying like rotting lilies. The air hung thick, devoid of humidity or temperature, as though the atmosphere itself had been vacuum sealed. Time dissolved, seconds bled into hours. My hand drifted to my chest, no rise, no fall. I clawed at my throat, fingertips sinking into gelatinous flesh that reknit instantly. Panic flared briefly in my mind, but dissipated just as quickly. My body remained inert, a marionette with severed strings. When I raised my arm, the non-light of this place seeped through my skin, revealing a lattice of veins like cracked porcelain. My flesh was vellum-soaked in glycerin. The grass beneath was visible as smudged impressions, a magic eye painting gone wrong. I waved a hand. No shadow followed, no proof I existed at all. A scream tore through my skull, silent and airless, a vacuum-sealed eruption that left no echo in this sterile void. My jaw unhinged grotesquely, tendons straining against their limits, yet no vibration troubled the stagnant air. Fear metastasized in my gut, a tumor with teeth. But my face stayed slack, a wax museum replica of terror. Movement flickered at the edge of my dead aquarium vision. 3 figures sat on the grass in the distance, their nudity neither provocative nor obscene, as if gender and modesty had been scrubbed from them entirely. Their skin mirrored mine, semi-opaque with a faint opalescent sheen, like soap bubbles moments before bursting. The oldest, or perhaps merely the most eroded, rose first, his feet levitating a micron above the grass. Each step left no imprint or whisper of friction. He seemed to traverse a hologram rather than solid ground. Up close, his face resembled a Botticelli angel. Flawless symmetry, marred only by eyes without lids or lashes, and lips that moved a half-second out of sync with his words.
"Don't worry."
The voice emanated from everywhere, the grass beneath me, the air around me, the inside of my molars. It resonated like a bow dragged across cello strings, vibrating deep in my marrow.
"Everyone feels this way at first."
He gestured toward the others. The woman hugged her knees tightly to her chest. Her hair was frozen mid-sway, a cascade of liquid mercury caught in time. The teenage girl plucked at grass blades with fingers that passed through them like mist. Her face was a mask of automated boredom. Their bodies flickered faintly as if buffering, edges pixelating like corrupted JPEGs struggling to render fully.
"Come,"
the old man intoned softly but firmly.
"Sit with us. We'll answer what we can."
Terror should have petrified me, but without cortisol or catecholamines coursing through me here in this place where biology had no dominion, fear became nothing more than an abstract concept, theoretical and distant. I floated forward instead, legs moving with marionette autonomy, and sank cross-legged beside him when commanded to do so. The grass beneath us remained preternaturally stiff, jabbing needle-tip precision into my thighs, yet leaving no marks behind.
"You must have many questions."
His voice rumbled through the ground beneath us, a sub-bass growl that vibrated up through my bones until it reached my teeth. Their eyes pinned me, pupils dilated into black holes, surrounded by faintly bioluminescent irises that pulsed faintly like dying embers in milk glass sockets. Where am I? My voice startled even me when it emerged hollowly, reverberating oddly, as though spoken through an ancient tin can telephone stretched taut between dimensions.
You're an anemone,
he replied evenly while his lips stretched into something resembling a smile but not quite human enough for comfort. It didn't crease his marble-smooth face naturally either way. The name slithered off his tongue like syrup-thick vowels from some archaic dead language, resurrected momentarily just long enough for its meaning alone to haunt its listener afterward indefinitely. I blinked. So I'm not in heaven?
Not yet.
His gesture swept toward the horizon, where the grass fused seamlessly with the anti-sky.
Anemone is a purgatory of patience, a sieve.
The others tilted their heads in unison, their necks creaking faintly like unoiled hinges.
We are the residue, the unworthy sediment.
Waiting to get into heaven?
Yes.
His finger traced the air, painting invisible sigils that dissolved as quickly as they formed.
63 years for me, 58 for her.
The woman's nod was robotic, her hair frozen mid-sway like a suspended waterfall.
19 for the child.
The girl mimed plucking grass, her fingers phasing through blades as static as plastic ferns.
Time here is not time.
Why aren't we in heaven? He leaned closer, his pupils glowing faintly, twin embers in milk glass eyes.
The soul must molt, shed its husk, regret, greed, the rot of living, until it's weightless, pure.
His gaze dropped to my chest.
But yours already burns.
He tapped my sternum with a sound like a dull thud, wet clay struck by a fist.
Look.
I glanced down. A glow pulsed beneath my wax paper skin. Not the sickly, guttering flicker of the others, but a relentless white radiance, as if I'd swallowed a neutron star. The old man recoiled slightly, his own chest dimming like a bulb on a dying circuit.
You won't linger here,
he whispered, his voice tinged with venomous envy. I squinted eastward, where the void blurred into a silver smudge on the horizon. How do I leave?
The angel descends for the ready.
The others stiffened at his words, their translucent faces contorting, mouths twitching, eyes narrowing, as if struck by invisible blows.
You'll see the gate, the rest of us.
His voice frayed and unraveled into silence. The girl resumed her pantomime, fingers raking through grass that refused to yield. The woman hugged her knees tightly to her chest, her chin resting on spectral joints. None spoke. None needed to. I followed the old man's gaze eastward again, straining to see what he saw, or perhaps what he only hoped to see. But the void stared back at me with indifference. A shudder passed through the group like an electric current rippling through their forms. The woman's hum sharpened into a whine. The girl's fingers froze mid-pluck. I pressed forward with the question clawing up my throat. If heaven's real, is hell? The old man laughed, a dry rasp like beetles scuttling over dead leaves.
Hell is a fairy tale, a scarecrow.
He spread his arms wide, encompassing the frozen field around us, the waiting, the nothing.
Souls linger here until the angel comes to get them. I don't think there's a hell. It's only this for us.
The others blurred at their edges, their forms pixelating like corrupted film frames struggling to hold shape. The girl hissed softly, her voice frayed and brittle. He's been here longest. He thinks he knows. He doesn't. The old man ignored her entirely. His gaze latched onto the horizon again, ravenous and unblinking.
You'll learn the truths in heaven,
he said softly but firmly.
Ask God about hell, about us, about why your first breath mattered.
A pause stretched taut between us before he added,
Then come back and tell us, if you can.
Silence smothered the group like an oppressive fog. The woman resumed rocking in place. her hum now tuneless and arrhythmic, a sound that gnawed at my nerves without rhythm or melody. Above us, the void deepened further still, the clouds glowing whiter now. Or was it my chest light bleeding into this faux sky? I opened my mouth. Enough! The old man raised a single finger sharply to silence me before I could speak further.
Save your breath,
he said flatly but not unkindly.
You'll need it. There.
Time thickened around us like syrup poured over glass. We sat together in silence. An excruciating stillness, akin to holding one's breath indefinitely, as though someone had pressed pause on existence itself. The old man's quartz-like eyes drilled into the eastern void with unwavering focus while my questions curdled inside me, unspoken yet unbearably heavy, their weight crushing against my ghostly ribs. Then, a tremor fissured the air, not a sound but a frequency, a subsonic drone that vibrated the marrow of my translucent bones. The grass remained petrified, unyielding, but we shuddered, our forms rippling like oil on water. Above the eastern horizon, the void tore open with a soundless scream, its edges bleeding molten gold. From the rift poured light so pure it seared my ghostly eyes, etching after-images of prismatic static onto my vision, and then the thing emerged. It unfolded like an ancient star exhaling its first breath. A colossal orb armored in segmented plates of bone white and gilt, each joint humming with celestial harmonics that resonated in my chest like the tolling of cathedral bells. Wings wider than cityscapes arched from its flanks, but these were no feathered limbs. They writhed with thousands of eyes, human pupils dilated in terror, goat-slitted irises glowing sulfur yellow, compound insect lenses fracturing light into rainbows. Each eye blinked in discordant rhythm, their depths swirling with dying galaxies, newborn nebulae, and the cold fire of quasars being born. The group jerked upright as one, their limbs snapping taut as if yanked by invisible strings. The old man wheeled toward me, his lips contorting soundlessly, his face a mask of raw hunger and venom. The angel's wings beat once, a thunderclap that compressed the air into a diamond-hard wall, but not a single blade of grass quivered beneath us. It hovered there, suspended in its incomprehensible majesty, every eye swiveling to pin me in a kaleidoscope of gazes. The voice impaled my skull.
Do not be afraid.
It was not sound but sensation, the taste of copper and burnt honey on my tongue, the smell of glaciers calving into Arctic seas, the pressure of a supernova's shockwave flattening my form into nothingness. My knees buckled under its weight, yet my terror dissolved into a narcotic haze, thick as opium smoke, coating my mind in velvet oblivion.
Come to me.
I moved without volition, a marionette tugged skyward by invisible strings. The angel's carapace peeled open with mechanical precision, its segmented plates retracting like the petals of some obscene metal flower. Within lay a core of liquid light that churned and writhed like molten plasma. It cascaded over me in a torrent, dissolving my translucent flesh in layers. First skin, cold and sharp like alcohol evaporating. Then muscle, a sigh of release. Then bone, the snap of a shackle breaking. I should have screamed, but instead, I unraveled.
You will do perfectly.
The light was neither warm nor cold. It was revelation. It flayed me to my essence, stripping away doubt, memory, fear, everything, until only a single radiant thread remained, pure and untainted by thought or form. My disintegration was not agony but surrender, the relief of a marathoner collapsing at the finish line, lungs heaving, soul singing. I ascended. The eyes on the wings tracked my rise with unblinking precision, galaxies spinning in their depths like cosmic clocks ticking down to some unknowable end. Below me, the figures dwindled. The old man's mouth twisted into a silent curse. The girl's half-raised hand trembled as though fighting an invisible leash that bound her to this place. Then the rift sealed itself with a wet, organic snick, and anemone winked out of existence. The light swelled, a supernova in reverse, its brilliance contracting inward until it dimmed to a dying ember. Darkness. Not the hungry void I had seen before, but something softer, a velvety oblivion dense with possibility. Somewhere in its depths, a faint hum resonated, the echo of a heartbeat, or perhaps the birth cry of a star. Consciousness seeped back like ink spreading through oil. I blinked, and the sterile void of anemone had been replaced by a gilded nightmare. The field around me teemed with grass that moved, blades rippling in a breeze that carried no scent, no warmth. Beyond stretched a city that defied physics, spires of molten gold twisted into fractal patterns, bridges of translucent crystal arcing between towers like frozen lightning. The structures pulsed faintly, as though breathing, their surfaces crawling with hieroglyphs that squirmed when stared at directly. Far beyond it all loomed a throne the size of a mountain range, its edges blurred by distance and the sheer impossibility of its scale. Upon it sat a figure of pure radiance, its form shifting between humanoid and geometric abstraction, a head like a dying star swiveling slowly to survey its domain. The light from it pressed against my vision, not blinding but oppressive, like standing too close to an open furnace. I spun, searching for the old man, the girl, but I was alone. Until I wasn't. They appeared without sound, two men carved from wax by a deranged sculptor. The taller one's hair gleamed like polished brass. His companion's was obsidian black. Their features were mirror symmetrical to the millimeter, too perfect to be human. No pores marred their alabaster skin. Their eyelids didn't flutter when they blinked. They moved in staggered unison, the shorter one always half a step behind. Their robes shimmered with false humility, threads of light weaving through linen that hissed faintly, like radio static caught between stations. The shorter one tilted his head, eyes swallowing the light, pupils flat and depthless as event horizons. When he smiled, his teeth were slightly too large, slightly too sharp, slightly too white. "Hello, James." The taller one's voice was a wind chime made of bone. "Welcome to Heaven's workshop." He spread his arms wide, sleeves billowing to reveal wrists jointed like doll limbs. "Ask your questions. We do love fresh perspectives." "What's going on?" My voice echoed oddly in the space around us, as if the air itself resisted sound. The shorter one buzzed, a locust's rattle trapped in a human throat. "Tell me, James." He tapped my chest with his fingertip, freezing cold against my translucent flesh. "Does it itch? The light inside, like a trapped moth battering your ribs?" I staggered back instinctively. "What is it? Why does it feel alive?" "Because it hungers." The taller one began circling me like a predator stalking prey. "Most souls are clotted with prayer, diluted by millennia of groveling to imaginary gods. But you..." His breath smelled of burnt wiring and ozone. "You starved yours. Let it grow feral, untamed, a perfect battery." "Battery? For what?" My voice cracked under the weight of his words. The shorter one giggled, a sound like breaking glass underfoot. "The gears of paradise, James. The engines that spin the stars." He gestured toward the distant throne with mock reverence. "Even he needs fuel, especially now, with so few pure souls left to burn." "But I didn't believe. Why me?" My words tumbled out in desperation. "Belief is a contaminant." The taller one's smile stretched unnaturally wide, lips splitting at the corners without bleeding. "You're a virgin wellspring. No saints, no sins, no tainted dogma. Just raw, screaming potential." I backed away further this time, my heels sinking into grass that gripped like tar. "You can't just take it." "Can't we?" The taller one purred as if savoring my resistance. "But we're so generous. We'll even trade a gift for a gift." His pupils dilated until they swallowed his irises whole. "What does your mortal heart crave, James? Wealth? Power?
wings to flutter about like some songbird.
The question curdled in the air between us. Do I have a choice? My voice was barely above a whisper now. The shorter one leaned in close enough for me to feel his breath, a dry rasp against my skin.
Choice is a fairy tale,
he hissed through teeth too sharp for his mouth. His tongue flickered briefly, forked and serpentine before retreating behind his grin.
But we'll pretend you do. Play along. It's more fun.
My mind scrabbled for leverage as panic clawed at me from within. The throne's light pulsed in my peripheral vision, a migraine wrapped in majesty, and I blurted out the first thing I could think of. I want to fly, to be an angel. They froze. Then the shorter one howled, laughter shredding through the air in dissonant harmonics that made my ears ache.
Fly? You think feathers and harps? Oh, James.
He clutched his sides as if he might split open from amusement. His ribs creaked audibly under the strain.
You'll fly all right, straight into the furnace.
The taller one raised a hand sharply, silencing him with an almost imperceptible gesture. His expression softened into something resembling pity, or perhaps mockery disguised as mercy.
If flight is your desire.
His fingers snapped once. The air tore open. A portal bloomed before us, a gyre of cobalt and magnesium white light whose edges gnawed at reality itself like acid eating through fabric. The shorter one seized my arm with talons disguised as fingers. His grip burned cold against my spectral flesh.
Come, fledgling,
he hissed gleefully.
Let's clip your wings.
I resisted instinctively, but the light inside my chest betrayed me. It tugged toward them, as if magnetized by their presence or their willpower alone. My body lurched forward without consent. They stepped through first, their forms unraveling into shadow puppet silhouettes as they disappeared into the portal's swirling depths. It hummed ominously, a dentist's drill amplified through infinite black holes, and then it was my turn. I followed. The air turned gelid, thick with the sterile stench of formaldehyde and ozone. The room's whiteness wasn't just light, it was absence, leaching color from my vision until the world blurred into a nauseating void. Then I saw them, 1,000 eyes, bulging from every surface like tumors. Their lids peeled back wetly, irises kaleidoscoping between reptilian slits and human pupils, each gaze drilling into me with predatory focus. The floor undulated faintly, a living carpet of eyeballs rolling beneath my feet, their viscous tears pooling around my ankles. The golden slab dominated the room, sculpted into a gargantuan hand frozen mid-reach, fingers curled into talons. Its surface writhed with glyphs that squirmed like tapeworms, their edges glowing faintly bioluminescent, as if fed by rot. The air around it warped, humming with a subsonic frequency that vibrated my teeth.
Lie down.
The shorter one's voice wasn't a sound. It was a command etched directly into my skull. I stumbled backward, but the eyes on the floor shifted, their collective gaze herding me toward the slab. My chest light flickered erratically, casting jagged shadows that slithered up the walls like sentient stains.
Lie down.
His words splintered into echoes, each syllable sharper than the last. Light ropes lashed out, serpentine tendrils of liquid nitrogen, hissing and steaming as they coiled around my limbs. Their touch burned with a cold so absolute it felt like fire, searing through my spectral flesh into the core of whatever passed for my soul. I screamed, but the sound fractured into static, swallowed by the room's insatiable whiteness. The slab throbbed beneath me, its vibrations syncing with my unraveling pulse. The glyphs squirmed faster now, forming patterns that made my mind recoil, a language of tumors, of broken bones, of starved things chewing through the walls of reality. The taller one raised a prismatic shard, its edges fracturing light into colors that hurt, ultraviolet, infrared, hues no human eye should perceive.
Painless,
he lied as he drove the shard into my shoulder blade. My memories hemorrhaged, first to go, My mother's voice singing lullabies, dissolving into radio static. Then my first kiss, lips turning to ash, the taste of strawberry gum replaced by bile, the sting of a skinned knee, the thrill of a childhood bicycle ride, the warmth of a dog's fur, all siphoned into the slab's ravenous glow. Voices, mine, theirs, others, gibbered in a guttural tongue. Sclepius, vor, aphanizistai. The wing was a living blasphemy, feathers of rusted iron, membranes veined with pulsating maggots, talons dripping viscous black fluid. The taller one rammed it into my shoulder blade. It writhed, burrowing into me with a sound like teeth grinding on bone. My back arched as the wing fused to my spine, tendrils of rot spreading through my veins like ink in water. A flicker beyond the void. A hospital ceiling, a defibrillator's crack. Clear. My corpse jolted on the gurney. A nurse's glove gripped my face. James, stay with me. Back in the white hell, the shorter one sawed into my other shoulder blade, his serrated blade screeching against spectral bone. Hurry! He spat as the taller one slammed the second wing into me, this one chitinous and iridescent, its edges sharp enough to split atoms. My chest light dimmed further now, its radiance siphoned into the slab like blood draining from an open wound. Another flicker. A needle's bite, cold fluid flooding my veins. V-fib converting! Don't stop compressions! The shorter one flipped me onto my stomach, pinning me as the wings twitched to life, their grotesque sinews knotting themselves into muscle and bone. He plunged a scalpel deep into my sternum. Light, my light, gushed out in torrents, pooling on the slab before evaporating into hungry glyphs. Take it! He howled, claws raking at my chest. The taller one's hands melted through my ribs like liquid mercury, grasping for the core of my soul light. It's rooted. He's fighting us. The shorter one's face unraveled, jaw unhinging, teeth splintering into glass shards, tongue elongating into a proboscis that stabbed toward my eye. You'll crawl back, he hissed through his disintegrating grin. We'll carve you out of that meat sack, Pulse stabilizing. James, squeeze my hand. The white room shattered. Eyes burst like overripe fruit. Wings crumbled to carcinogenic dust. The men's screams faded, not into silence, but into something more human, the wail of a heart monitor. Darkness, then, weight, heat, a throat raw from screaming, fingers gripping mine tightly now, a tether pulling me back from oblivion. Welcome back, James. A face swam into focus, a man in blue scrubs, his features softened by the halo of fluorescent lights above. His stethoscope gleamed cold against his chest, and his breath smelled of spearmint gum and exhaustion. Behind him, monitors chirped arrhythmically, their screens casting jagged green shadows over the walls. My tongue stuck to the roof of my mouth, cotton dry, as I tried to speak. You're a miracle. The doctor's voice cracked with a mix of awe and sleep deprivation. His pupils dilated slightly as he said it, as though even he didn't believe his own words. A nurse hovered behind him, adjusting an IV bag with hands still trembling from the adrenaline of revival. Reality seeped back in layers. The beep of the heart monitor synced with my pulse. Alive, alive, alive. The starch-stiff sheets chafed my arms. The scent of antiseptic burned my nostrils. I clawed at the neck of my gown, gasping, expecting wings to burst from my back or golden ropes to snake around my wrists. But there was only the drip of the IV, the flicker of a muted TV in the corner, and the distant wail of a code blue over the hospital PA. Weeks dissolved into a haze of needle sticks and midnight panic attacks. ICU nights blurred into rehab mornings. My legs trembled like a fawn's as I relearned stairs that now seemed to warp like anemone's horizon. The cardiologist's words played on loop during treadmill sessions. Ventricular fibrillation, chaotic electrical impulses. He traced my EKG with a manicured nail, oblivious to how its glyph-like squiggles made me vomit into biohazard bins. No blood flow for 10 minutes. Miraculous you're here. I nodded absently, fingering the new scar on my sternum, a raised star-shaped keloid no surgeon could explain. I never spoke of the eyes, the throne, the thing that called itself an angel. They'd lock you up, whispered shadows pooling beneath fluorescent lights during sleepless nights. They'll say it's hypoxia, hissed MRI machines as they scanned me for damage they couldn't see. So I let them chart my PTSD and ICU delirium, swallowing pills that made everything gauzy and dull. To anyone reading this, heaven is not what they told us. It's not gates or gold or glory, it's machinery. Anemone is its waiting room. If you see the throne, if you see wings, if men with oil-slick eyes whisper your name, run, fight, let your soul burn out before they can siphon it dry. Better to fade into purgatory's static than fuel their gilded eternity. I know how it sounds. I know what you'll say. But lean close, I'll show you the scars where they tried to carve me open. How they glow in the dark at 10 p.m.